to the Lady Yum Yum Show. I'm getting ready for a brand new year, as I'm sure many of you are, and that often includes resolutions to eat healthier. So I thought I'd do a nice healthy soup full of superfoods. It's my kale and sweet potato soup, and it's delicious and really filling and great this time of year. Let's get started with a medium flame or heat under our big pot. Now I'll add about a tablespoon of oil, just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. You can use a little teeny bit or a little more, depending what you like. And now we'll let that come to heat for a minute and we'll add our mirepoix. There's lots of variations of mirepoix. I'm using a classic one. It's a 2 to 1 to 1 ratio. So that's 2 cups of onion. I've used onion and leek. A cup of carrot and a cup of celery. So we have 4 cups total of our mirepoix. So now we'll dump our mirepoix into our oil and give it a little stir. Just make sure everything gets some oil on it. Turn my heat up a bit. It was a little low. And we'll add a little bit of salt to help the onions and everything sweat. There we go. And we'll cover it. So we'll just let them sit there, and we don't want color on our mirepoix, so you don't want your heat too high. On my stove, about medium. Listen for sizzle, don't let it get too sizzly. I have 2 types of kale here. I have a curly kale and a flat or dinosaur kale, I've seen it called. It's also called, I'm not sure how to say it, but Jacinto kale. So 2 different types, they taste almost identical. So just get whatever looks the freshest at your store. And typically you want to take off the stalk, and it's pretty easy to do. You can just take your hand and it comes right out. If the stalk's real thin like this one, I might even use a little of the stalk. And then you can just break the rest of it up. So I'm just breaking it up into little pieces, and this dinosaur kale, I'm just going to take the very end of the stalk off. There we go. And again, just breaking it into bite-sized pieces and just tearing it. You can cut it if you want. Tearing it works great. I have about 4.5 cups of kale that I'll be using in the soup. Let's give our mirepoix a check. Oh, it's almost there. We're waiting until the onions are clear or almost clear. So we got a few more seconds, I'd say. Nothing smells as good as onions, celery, and carrots in a house. It's just like coming home to yumminess. So I have these just about done. The onions are almost clear, but they have no color on them because I don't want that caramelized flavor or color to my stock. Now we'll add the sweet potatoes in a few minutes, and I've chopped them up ahead of time into bite-sized pieces. And I've used 3 different types because I couldn't decide at the store. So I have 2 cups of a combination of, from left to right, a sweet potato, a golden yam, and a red yam. So I figured that would be pretty in the soup, and they each have a slightly different taste to them as well. Perfect. The onions are completely clear, as are most of the leeks, and the other vegetables are just starting to cook. So we're ready to add our water. I'm going to start with 8 cups. I'll probably end up with about 12, but 8's a good start. So I'll add all my water. There we go. And now we can add our sweet potatoes. Just dump those in. And we'll be adding 24 ounces of diced tomatoes. I'm using these ones in the box. I like these because they're just tomatoes, no salt, no nothing. So they're my favorite, but you can use the canned ones as well. I do recommend the no salt added because then you can control how much salt you use. So we'll put those in. Why get it all? Give it a little stir. Now we're going to add some thyme. And I'm going to use about a tablespoon. And I absolutely love thyme in soup. My dad used to make chowders a lot in the winter, And he added a ton of thyme, so I've developed a taste for it. A tablespoon's a good place to start. If you like it as much as me, you might add a little more. And if you're not sure, wait till the end. You can add a little more then if you think you need it after you taste it. I'll also add some black pepper. I'd say, I'm gonna go about half a teaspoon. That would have been a lot of black pepper. So about half a teaspoon. And I'm not going to add more salt yet. I put quite a bit in when I was sweating the vegetables. I'll taste and adjust for salt near the end. So I'm going to raise my heat and watch this until it boils. And then I'll bring it down to a simmer, and I'll simmer it until the sweet potatoes and yams are soft and fork tender. There, our soup is at a boil, so let's reduce it to a simmer. We'll cover it and cook it until the potatoes are fork tender, 30 to 45 minutes. Check them once in a while, see when they're done. I'm hungry. And I'm hoping my potatoes are done. So I'm ready for the soup to be done. So I'm just gonna check my potatoes. Yeah, they're perfect. Nice and tender. And so we can add our kale. And the kale only takes a few minutes to wilt, like 5 minutes. So we'll just make sure it's all covered, and we'll keep the soup simmering until that kale is all wilty and soft. Now, while that's happening, I'm going to taste my soup and see if it needs any adjustments. Salt's good, but I need more thyme. I love thyme, I'm not kidding you. So a little more thyme. And I like a little spice, so I'm going to put about a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Totally optional. If you don't like spice, leave them out. Just varies the flavor a little bit. Another thing I sometimes do with this soup is add white beans if I want a heartier, heavier dinner, or more of a chowder type of thing. And it also, if you add the beans, it tends to thicken a little more too, although the potatoes thicken this pretty well. And you can see the color is so pretty, the orange and the green of the kale. It's just such a pretty soup. I absolutely adore soup because I can eat a ton of it for very little calories. So it's perfect for those New Year's resolutions. I've got my nice warm soup here ready for tasting. I'm gonna get the kale and the sweet potato, of course. Delicious. And another thing I love about soup, it gets better every day. I'll eat this, I made a big bunch, so I'll eat it for 2 or 3 days for lunch and or dinner. You can freeze it, it just works great. And again, healthy, perfect for your New Year's resolutions. Happy New Year, and I'll see you next year.